from our new setup. Hi, I am the Fine.
And I'm the Water, and you're listening to A Cup of Tea. I almost lost it, but not quite.
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
While sharing a cup of tea with you. And today, I'm getting a bit distracted, but because today we have a cool episode that I'm excited about.
All right. Okay.
And we're drinking
the blueberry rooibos from the market.
Yes.
Do you remember the name of the market?
The Lonsdale Key Market.
From there.
Yeah. So today, as you mentioned, and I think it's true, at least maybe not in the order that they've gone out on YouTube,
but just our personal recording.
It's been a couple of intense episodes.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, I feel like even since the whole sexting series...
Yeah.
It's just been sort of like intense on intense on intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Just, yeah.
So it's nice to take a break. And to do that, we're going to talk about our 10... I said favorite, but you said most impactful.
Yes.
Books.
I don't know that I can choose my top 10 favorite books.
That's the thing. It's hard. Like we have a list of episodes to do. Like we don't write them necessarily, but we have ideas and topics and stuff. And then we
just run with it.
Yeah, and today we were kind of like, oh, what are we going to do today? I don't know. Check the list. And I don't even know how the book thing came up.
I said something. I don't know why I thought of it. Something made me think of books. And then I said, oh, what if we talk about books? And then you said, oh, top 10.
Yes. So we started writing a list. And it was, a favorite books list. I don't know. The thing is, to sort of find the 10 for the list, I went through my Goodreads to find the ones that I've marked there that I've read, because for one, like, I don't remember all of them at all. And I even told you that I didn't remember having read The Vampire Diaries. Yeah. Which was really funny. So we did that. And now we have our list. And we're going to go
through it.
So do you want to start?
Okay. So wait. So do you have your top 10 to number 1 favorites or impact? Like, what did you do? What's your list?
I did a combination of both.
Okay.
Because I do think that the favorite books also tend to have an impact on your life.
Okay.
So it's a combination of books that are special. Maybe not necessarily because I like them, but because they meant something to me at the time.
Okay.
And then some that I just really liked. And they're like some of my favorites. And
Okay. Mine is a list of the most impactful books, and it's kind of chronological. So my number 10, I guess it's the very first.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
And it's a very easy one because this book, so I feel like you might know.
Okay.
Yeah. You totally know because the Rocky also liked these books. But the Aragon books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
So there you go.
Yes.
Aragon, the first of the Inheritance series by Christopher Paolini. So that was the first book that I read.
Yeah.
And like it was a chunky book. But I was telling you before we started recording that, for example, sometimes I talk with Pablo and he's very into video games and I'm very into books.
Yeah.
And so I'm his backseat gamer, so I watch him play books. So I watch him play video games.
Yeah.
And we've tried to like read or for him to read, but he kind of gets annoyed or frustrated because he tells me, he'll read a page and he'll be like, I don't know what I just read. And that still happens to me. But I kind of know where he's coming from, because before I read Aragon, that would happen to me and I felt like I couldn't read. And so the amazing world of books was not a thing for me then. But I was young, I was little, and I went to a course of those fast reading courses things. And they like show you how to read and show you how to read fast. And there's like a bunch of exercise thingies. And it was because of that I was able to read Aragon, and like the world opened up before my eyes. And so that's why Aragon is the first book. It's the first book that I read. And I'm very into the whole fantasy world books, things, dragons. So yeah, that's why.
Nice.
Number 10.
It was funny that I actually saw it on my list of the Goodreads book. And
you read it?
Yeah, but the thing is, here's what I'm gonna say. You lent it to me. I had it for ages. And I never finished it. I think it was like I read it halfway through it, but I just couldn't. And I tried.
I feel like fantasy has never really been your thing.
No, maybe except for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of fantasy books that I've really liked. There's actually this series, which is not on my list, but it was good, by I don't know if she's Mexican or Spanish.
I think I know what you're going to say.
The Laura Gallego books about the angels. I don't know.
It's like an angel. Alas de Fuego and stuff. Yeah, you lent
those are really cute.
I like those too.
So those and Harry Potter are probably the only ones. And you know what? There was also this series, which I know is a ton of books now, called The Ranger's Apprentice, which a friend of us from high school recommended to me. He loved them. And I read the first one, and it's really cute. It actually gets better towards the end, and he said that the first one is not the best. I think he liked better the second or third one. And they're actually on my to-read list. I don't know if I'll ever get to them, but those were also kind of cute, like about magic and like world-building stuff. Yeah.
There's a series by Laura Gallego. I don't know if I knew. I think I read that series, which is Memorias de Idun, or like Memories of Idun. I don't know. And after I read that, which is also, it's not on my list, but it's also one of my favorite fantasy series things. And I think I read those first, and then either you showed me or I noticed that you had other Laura Gallego books. And that's when I was like, oh, like, let me read those. And she's cool. I like her. I think she's Spanish. I don't think she's Mexican.
I would kind of guess that.
I think she's Spanish.
All right, so my number 10, it was very hard for me to put them on a list. So yeah, okay, number 10 is Normal People.
Really?
Yeah, and that's not so much impactful as it is.
Is Normal People the one that I read or that I didn't read?
Yeah, that's the one you read.
The one that I read,
yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna spoil them for you.
Only a little.
Just yeah. But this one, I don't know. I know that Sally Rooney. I don't know why I thought Rooney Mara. Sally Rooney is apparently kind of polarizing, and there's this whole segment of people on the internet that are very against the type of thing is like Sally Rooney and Fleabag. This one other that my roommate lent me, and I think I talked about in another cup of tea, called My Year of Rest and Relaxation. Because they are, so I watched a video on YouTube that was like, why Fleabag is not a femcel. And I was like, what are you talking about?
As an incel?
Yeah. But there's apparently this whole stuff. I went on a Reddit and like rabbit hole and on Wikipedia. And yeah, my sources. But yeah. And it doesn't quite have the same connotation as an incel. Because it's more talking about characters like Fleabag, like the Year of Rest and Relaxation woman, kind of like the characters of normal people in conversations with friends.
But what is the thing about those characters?
It's general. I feel like independent women that don't necessarily talk about men, and their romantic focus in their stories is not about finding love, except for maybe
like it's more of a sex thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not necessarily, because I mean, there's sex in their stories, but it's not the main thing. Like Fleabag is not the main thing. Conversations with friends. I mean, I guess it's kind of important because those both normal people and conversations with friends are about romantic relationships.
I'm just wondering if the thing is that, instead of being a girl looking for love, it's a girl that
like figuring out her shit in life.
It's more okay.
Kind
is
of.
That what the femcel thing is?
No, the femcel thing is more. I mean, I don't even remember, so I don't really want to talk much about it because I don't remember. But it's about women that are deliberately alone, kind of, and there's stereotypes like crazy cat lady and workaholic woman and kind of stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do like Sally Rooney, and it's the way. There's two things. One is how she writes the characters, which I feel is very complex. Like, all her characters are deeply troubled, and they have batshit crazy stuff going on, which I'm attracted to in a writer kind of way. Like, oh, this is an interesting story. They're really messed up. But I like it. And I also really enjoy how she writes in the contemplating life kind of way, because she's very poetic, I feel like. And there's times like, oh, the door opened and the breeze came in. But it's not like a very necessarily overly corny poetry kind of way.
Okay.
But more of an observation on life, which is kind of the vibe that the Anthropocene Reviewed gave me a little bit, for example.
I haven't read that one. I have it here.
Yes.
I haven't read it. I find it very interesting how much you love those books. Because I feel like you gave me high expectations for them. And I'm not saying that like normal people is bad, but it felt very young adulty to me. And I find it very interesting how much you like it.
I think because it's very...
I feel like it's something that maybe I would have felt more strongly about like a few years back, but not necessarily now.
I don't know. I understand what you mean.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's maybe a kind of appreciation because of how mature, in a way, you are. Like more, what's it? Like emotionally accountable and very self-aware and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So it gives me the impression that it annoys you when characters are like that. And to me, that's really fun because that's, I mean, how can you have an interesting story with somebody that is super self-aware and there's no space for growth in that character?
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Which is, in the same way that it does feel maybe a little young adulty, I think it's one of the most grown-uppy ones of the young adult type of books. Like, I can see that. Really, I've tried, I was reading, I don't know why Audible recommended like some kind of romance novel, but that's not, like nothing porny like what we were talking about last episode. It's more of just a stupid romance novel, and I think I told you about it. There's a girl that has a salad shop and she says the word salad every 5 fucking words, and it's annoying as hell. That feels young adulty in a stupid way, So that annoys me a lot. But normal people is smarter.
Maybe it's also the fact that normal people is very real worldly.
Exactly.
And I don't know that I can
particularly.
I don't know that I can pinpoint another book that's like that, in a sense of like I'm very fantasy oriented. So the fact that this is kind of annoying in that emotional way of like these freaking characters. But also if the thing that's gonna catch me is this sort of extraordinary, there's no extraordinary in it. It's very ordinary. In a good way. Like I can see why you like it. It's just I find it interesting that you like it so much. But yeah, breaking it down in this way, like I can understand better. Yeah. And I can also see the appeal. It's just, again, I'm very fantasy oriented and this is very ordinary, but it's cool. I did finish it. I read the whole thing and it's all right.
See, I think that's the thing, the ordinariness of it. Something that I really enjoy.
Intriguing. Very well. Do you want to give me your 9?
Sure. I can give you my 9. So 9 is actually blank because I couldn't quite organize them.
I thought you had them.
I have all of them except for 8 and 9. Like the others are organized, but I have this list of like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. So twice as many, which does not help. But I'm going to say that the next one is it not here? Okay, Night Film.
Night Film?
Yes.
I don't know that one.
That's also more of a favorite, less of an impactful thing.
Okay.
But it's by Mauricio Pezel. And it's the first kind of thriller, not quite, no, it's not horror. It's more thriller, suspense type of books that I read. And it actually, I guess it did impact me because it made me like suspense books more. I don't know if I would count. The other one that I can think that is similar is Angels and Demons and those Dan Brown ones. But I don't think those are as thriller-y as this one is. Because this is the story of like a disgraced journalist whose work has been mostly about this secretive, mysterious movie director called Stanislas Cordova. And one day, Cordova's daughter dies, and this guy suspects that something weird happened there. Because apparently she killed herself, but she doesn't seem like... They say that she killed herself, but she doesn't really seem like the kind of person that would do that. So he starts looking into it and walks around New York finding clues and figuring out where she was before she died, and ends up at the director's mansion in like upstate New York or something. And it's very like dark and very suspenseful.
Interesting.
And I really like the way she describes the scene. Like she sets the scene really well. So it was I think that I could imagine very easily, and it was really cool. And I read it super fast. I think I was obsessed with it for however long it took me to finish it. And then I kept reading more of her books. So I like her. Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Searching?
Maybe.
Like the whole movie happens, like you see the movie happening through like the screen of a laptop.
No.
Or security cameras.
Yeah. I know which one you mean. I got ads for it on
but you haven't seen it?
But I haven't seen it.
It's really good. I hadn't seen it, but Pablo just showed it to me like last night or something. We watched it. It's really good.
Okay.
And because you were talking about this book and the stuff, I'm like, I think you're gonna like it.
Okay.
You should watch it. You should watch it. Yeah.
What's your number 9?
I think I know what it is. Let me just double check. Yeah. It's another fantasy saga thing.
Of course.
I feel like I want to honorary mention just really quickly because I'm talking about sagas and fantasy and stuff, and you said something about reading super fast. And I feel like The Twilight Saga?
Oh, that is also on my list. That's another one.
It's not on my list. This is just my mention.
I know.
Okay.
I kept it like an asterisk as an honorary mention because of
So I think it's the saga that I've read the fastest.
I know, exactly. I had it for the same reason. And I remember this exactly. It took me 21 hours to read that book. I counted
the Twilight one? The first one?
Yeah, the first one. I started when I got it on the mail and finished it before I had to go to class or something. Yeah, I read the entire day in school.
That's insane. But I miss that. Yeah. I miss not being able to put down a book, and that hasn't happened to me in ages. And I don't know if it's partly because I've sort of moved on from novels, and at some point in my life I got very into nonfiction, which is what I mostly read these days. But every now and then I just really crave a book that I just can't put down.
This is also, I guess, an honorary mention. This is going to be my rec for today, which I guess I can give now. This book that I'm reading, the Mexican Gothic book.
Oh, yeah.
It started very slow, and I was about to give up on it. But then, because of having to ride trains and buses and whatever, I gave it another chance.
All right.
And because I like the idea that it's by a Mexican author who actually lives here. I think I told you about her. And I read this other book by her. So it's like, okay, give it a chance. And my goodness, I was on the bus just now and I was about to miss the stop because I just kept reading. And it's really good. I'm like almost at the final quarter of the book. And it's so good.
All right. That gives me hope.
Yes.
Okay, so my 9 is His Dark Materials.
Ooh.
By Philip Pullman, which is the... you must know. There is a show. Yeah, because it's the Golden Compass books.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's that sort of fantasy thing. Yeah. And I think I might have watched the movie before I read the books.
I don't know, but I remember you loved the talking
movie?
about it, or the movie.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite movies from my childhood. And something curious, I don't know, did you watch the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know how usually, or I think as far as the movie goes, the demons of people are the opposite gender?
I don't remember.
Well, okay. That's a thing. But in the book, in one of the books, there's a mention of some person that has the same gender demon. And so in some interview thing, they asked the author, what that meant. And his answer was just like, I don't know. Like that's how the world works. He said something like the impression was just that's how the characters presented themselves. It's not, it wasn't a choice kind of thing. It was just that's just the way it is. And I thought that was such an interesting thing in an author kind of way.
Yeah.
To not do it in a
purpose.
Just to say that's, I don't know. That's the world. That's the, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also always liked the whole thing of having a demon and counterpart animal thing, and it also kind of makes sense in a psychological animus way, and I just really like the whole thing. And when I was little, I think when I went to the movies to watch it, I was with an aunt and an uncle of mine, and I think one of the things that my aunt told me was that I was like her when she's in the at the very first part of the movie, and she's running around on the roofs of the school, and she has her knees scraped, and they're brushing her hair, and it's all wild and stuff. And my aunt was like, yeah, that's very you. And then there's this other part where she's at a very fancy dinner, and she tries wine for the first time, and she spits it back into the glass, and my aunt was like, you wouldn't do that, you would drink it. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, that's my number 9.
Nice.
Fantasy world. I really like it.
Cute. What's your number 8?
Oh, my number 8. Let's see. Is it another fantasy thing? No. Okay. You might like this. This book I actually read because of you. Sophie's World. And I had it forever.
Cute. Yeah.
What's the name of the author?
I don't
Justine Gardier?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it because I think he's Icelandic. Or I don't remember.
But Sophie's World. I really
cute.
like that book.
I guess this is a format that I copied from RedLink. So what they usually do is they list, if somebody mentions something from the other's list, then you like say it at the same time. So we can talk about that one too, because
Sophie's World is also in your list?
Yeah, it's my number 5.
Cute. Yeah. It's just okay, so if anyone hasn't read it, it's a very beautiful introduction to philosophy.
Yes.
And in that kind of, because I've always been very interested in philosophy, mythology, and all that kind of genre things. And I feel like probably I had only read philosophy stuff school oriented, and I think Sophie's World was the first book outside of school that was just very about philosophy and that I just loved.
That's really cute. Because you had, and the thing is I have 2 copies. So
I kept yours for years.
Yeah, I know.
I only gave it to you like before I came to Canada, which is insane.
I know. And I read it because this is a book that apparently was written for children, and then people started liking it, and adults really liked it as an introduction to philosophy. It is really cute,
and I do see the for children part of it.
And I read it. I don't know if my mom gave it to me to read. She was like, "You're gonna like it."
I thought it was your grandpa. Or it reminds you of your grandpa? Something about your grandpa.
Yeah. It reminded me of him. The thing was that she maybe gave it to me because it was hers. The copy that you had was hers.
Oh.
And then she recommended it to my grandma. But at the same time, because, I was reading it and I kept asking my grandpa stuff. And that was a common thing of when I read something. One of my aunts was funny, and she would like, if I had a question about a word, she would send me to the dictionary, but my grandpa would explain it to me instead. So it was always nice to read something and ask him. I had always a list of words to ask him. And he really liked philosophy, and so when I was reading this one, he would, we would talk about it a lot. And it also is one of the, not just favorite, but impactful too, because that one made me stop believing in religion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you remember how that came to be?
Yeah. Because I was reading the book, and I remember very clearly from, First Communion classes and stuff where you had to learn the Bible and Genesis and how the world was created and whatever. And so before that, I truly believed that was real. I don't know when I read it. I was maybe, 12 or something.
Wow.
Or between 12 and 15. And so I was reading this, and this thing of the world and like Plato and the what's the word for that?
The Academy?
No. But anyway, the point is like the beginning of philosophy, like the very first few chapters of the book.
Like the Agora?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
And so I was reading this, and I think I must have told my grandpa something like, so this whole Bible thing is not real.
What did your grandpa say?
It's not. It was just made up so that people would understand it and like adopt it in paganism and religion and so.
Oh, wow.
And so
he didn't try to tell you that it what like that. Oh no, but religion is this thing.
No. He was super non-religious. Okay. So then he was like, "Yeah, no, this is a story that they made up to explain it to people, but it's not real." And this, because to me, in my brain, it made no sense that the book was saying something like, "Oh yeah, 3,000 years ago," and the thing is, "Oh, the world started 2,000 years ago." So I was like, "What? This does not compute." So yeah, and then Plato and Aristotle and whatever, and so I really liked it, and I liked the idea of it, of questioning where you came from and the whys and all of that, and that actually made me want to at some point study philosophy until I was discouraged by everybody being like, yeah, los
What are you
pachicos de
gonna
la
do?
UNAM and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was really cute. So that's my number 5.
What's your number 8?
It was also not specified, but my number 8, and in a kind of similar way than Sophie's World, but it's Harry Potter 5.
Specifically?
Yeah, specifically that one, because I've had to fight to get it. So it was at a point where I think it had just come out or something, and that was, and still is, the longest Harry Potter book. So my mom had gotten me the first 2. And the first one I began reading, but I didn't really finish it. The second one she got me in English, so it didn't. I also had it there. But I mean, and I loved the movies. And I thought, I just want to read it. I want to read number 5. And so after begging for ages, I finally got it. Because she didn't believe that I would read it.
Phoenix?
Yeah, the Order of the Phoenix. And the thing was that it was a bet.
Okay.
And she says, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy it for you. But if you don't finish it, then I had to do something. I don't remember.
Okay.
And I was like, no, yes, I will finish it. And that was the thing. It was really cute because then I would call my grandpa and ask him, like, what does intelligible mean? Or what does, I don't know, whatever this thing means.
That's cute.
And I spent a lot of time reading it. Or it felt like a long time. I don't even know how long it took me to read. But it was really cool. And it was very kind of like a gateway into reading a lot more because I was used to, like, I don't know, children's books and stuff. And this one was more like, oh, I can read more intelligent stuff now. So yeah, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And then I did finish reading the other 2 that came after, 6 and 7. And now I'm actually listening to the first, I listened to the first one in Swedish. And then I'm listening to the second one now.
In Swedish?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's really funny. The names of the characters are different.
Okay.
In like an interesting way. And there's some stuff that I'm like, huh, funny. I don't quite remember. There's one in particular that I thought was funny. Oh, the, what's his face? The professor of the dark,
Snape?
Defense Against the Dark Arts. No. In the second book, there's a guy who's a book author, but it's actually a scam.
That one.
His name in Swedish is kind of funny. I don't remember how it is, but it's funny.
But it's funny.
Gilderoy Lockhart. What? Lockman. Something Lockman. But anyway. So that was my number 8.
Interesting. All right.
What's your number 7?
Okay. Okay. So this one is a very tiny book. It's like this big or something.
Okay.
And it's by Jose Ruiz, which is one of the sons of Don Miguel Ruiz, which is the Four Agreements guy.
I don't know if it was you who told me about it or somebody, but I've recently heard about him.
About Don Miguel Ruiz?
No, the son.
Oh, well, he has 2 sons, and they both write.
Oh, well, I don't know.
So one of them is Jose Ruiz, and the other one is Miguel Ruiz Jr. So Mi Amiga la Serpiente was a book. I was at an airport, and I don't know where I was going. Probably either coming or going to or from the preserve.
Okay.
I don't know, because it wasn't that earlier in life. It was later. And I don't think I've read the Four Agreements. I've read other books by Don Miguel Ruiz. But that one, for some reason, I saw it at one of those like book places at the airport.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was like, oh, yeah, it's calling to me or whatever. And it's really cute, I guess, in that same way as the Four Agreements and this sort of ancient knowledge and thing. But the reason why it's on my list, it's that, so Jose is talking about something about his life or whatever, and he's saying something about the love of his life. And this was a very impactful moment in my life.
Right.
He said he was describing this thing, he was going through something, and he's talking about the love of his life. And then, I don't remember exactly how, but he mentions, he makes it seem that, oh, the love of his life is not his wife. And then he ends up telling you that the love of his life is himself.
Oh, okay.
And this was like a little before, I feel like there was this giant pop culture thing about loving yourself. But this was before that, or before I noticed it.
Okay.
So the way he just said that he was the love of his life was mind-blowing to me. And I kind of took it to heart of like, oh, like it's not only about self-love, it's about like you can be the love of your life. And that was just amazing to me. And the whole thing about the snake, because mi amiga la serpiente, my friend the snake, I don't know what the actual title in English is. It has to do with transformation and like how a snake leaves their old skin behind and transforms and all of that. But yeah, the greatest thing was that single, and it was like just a line in the middle of the book, just and I think it's towards the end of the page almost, something about, oh yeah, I am the love of my life, or something along the lines of that. And that's what it is. That's the book.
Cute.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, my number 7 is The Photographer's Playbook.
Ooh.
By, I don't remember, it's a compilation of stuff.
That sounds cute.
I don't remember the like title thing, whatever, the author, but it's this very cute book that my university director recommended to me because she had it in her office, and it has prompts. I think it was written by a teacher, or I don't remember exactly. But the thing is that it has prompts for you to follow and do and explore your photography with them. Yes.
That sounds cute.
So it's really cute. And I had it, I mean, I know that I have like bookmarks on it because I used it when I taught photography at school. And it had stuff on like, go out and take photos of leaves. Or, I don't know. I mean, look at older photos that you've taken and do something new with them. And I don't know, it has tons of them. And I really liked it. It was really cute. It was, I think it came to me at a moment where, after having photography class in school, where I was like, I didn't learn anything. This was so stupid, like a waste of time. Why did I take? I mean, it was a mandatory class. I could not have not taken it. But because I had already taught myself how to do it, then I felt like I already know everything. And so she gave it to me, and she's like, yes, here, explore. Do something with it. It's really cute. So, yeah, it was really cute. She gave it to me, and then I returned it to her and bought my own. And I still have it. I was actually going to bring it.
Yeah, you should have.
And
I would have.
But yeah, it's still waiting back home. I mean, I can get it back when I come.
Cool.
When I go.
Okay. What's your next one?
All right, number 6 is The White Tiger.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, we read it in high school.
I've read it in high school?
Maybe you had already left.
Hey. Which one's that one? The White Tiger.
It's by Aravind Adiga. And it's this story of, I don't remember the main character's name, but it's a guy who's born in like a little rural part of India, and his whole dream in life is to go to Bangalore and sort of make it in life. But it's very raw, and it's very, it depicts a very cruel view of the world, I feel like. Because the main guy's like super positive, and he'll do whatever it takes to get to where he wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
And where he wants to go is basically to have money. But it's a very complex story that I think portrays the reality of India in a way, but not just India, because you can parallel that to many other places, really everywhere. Like, you can draw a parallel to Mexico or to the US or here in Canada.
Wow.
And it was just very interesting to read. In the same way that, I don't know, Harry Potter was like more adult to read when you're 10. This one felt also more adult to read at 15 or 16 or something, because it was a high school
like
thing.
the world.
Yeah.
And the problems of real
and
life.
a more cynical view of the world, and there's this very vivid image on my brain of a thing he says on the book of how people walk in the streets of Delhi or Bangalore or something, and he's looking at people with cars having their own little private bubble of luxury with their air conditioner, and they don't have to be sweating so much like the people out on the street are, because they have to walk to wherever they have to go. And yeah, it was really intense, but pretty cool. And also kind of funny.
It sounds intriguing.
There's a movie that came out on, I don't know if it's Netflix or Prime. But yeah, and then one of my friends saw it and she was like, the movie's horrible. Yeah. And I haven't
As they
seen
tend to be.
Yes.
Interesting. All right. I'm intrigued.
Yes. What's your number 7?
The Art of Love by Eric Fromm.
Oh, that's cute. And it's also on my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, again, with the whole thing of sort of leaving novels and fantasy back in my youth, and trying to read. And I kind of feel like that book I read before I was doing all of my research for my thesis on the phenomenon of love. But even so, like, I revisited it when I was researching, and I feel like that is the book that sort of made me understand that love is not a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's action. Like, love is a verb, not a noun.
Yeah.
So that's why it's on my list.
Oh man, it's my number 1.
It's your number 1?
Yeah.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
It was kind of okay. It was really hard to make the list, but also when I came down to it, I thought of, okay, what's the most important thing of all these things I've learned with these books? What is the most important one? And so that's why I put it in number 1.
What's the most important?
The one thing that, I mean, I don't remember. I don't remember the entire book at all. No. But the one thing that I do remember is actually at the very beginning. And it's about learning that you can love other people and you don't have to expect anything back from them.
Yeah.
And that something about everybody loves differently and whatever. And so, but mostly don't expect them to love you back. Like, love
just
without
love them
expecting
because
anything.
you love them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the number 1 thing?
Yeah, because I think it's like, because I do, it's such a present thing in my life.
Really?
That idea.
Wow. This is one of those moments where I see life through your eyes, and it's very, I was not expecting this at all.
Like, love without expectations thing is so, I feel like, what's the thing on the Inside Out movie? Like a core memory or something like that? Like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Really cool. Really cool. It's a good book.
It is.
Yeah. I appreciate it on a psychological level, on an emotional level, on a day-to-day level, on a relationships level. I am impressed that it's your number 1, though.
Yeah. I think I read it when I was in high school, and I had a crush on my philosophy teacher. And he had us read that and a couple of others that I also wrote down, but they didn't make it to the top 10. There's actually another one that is also in my top 10 from the ones he made us read, but this one was.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your next one?
I don't even know which number we're on now. So 5, 6. Oh,
so
yeah, we're
From
6.
was my number 6.
Yeah, my number 6 was The White Tiger. We already said my number 5, which was Sophie's World. What's your number 5?
Okay, so my number 5, along the lines of this love, relationships, and things, is The Transformation of Intimacy by Anthony Giddens. And this one I did discover because of the research.
Is that one that you
the one that you brought me back? Yeah.
I never read it actually.
It's so good. It's very
I
interesting.
wanted to, but I just kept it there, and I was like, yeah, I'll read it at some point.
I mean, it's here. I have the Anthropocene reviewed, so I can keep that one while you read the Anthony Giddens one. And so I was very sort of let down about this concept of love that I felt like culture had given me, that was very romantic love as this sort of very possessive thing. And I was trying to find answers about what love could be that wasn't that. And it kind of goes into a little bit of the history of like where romantic love comes from and why it's the way it is. And it's very religion oriented, and it's very of course it is. But then Anthony Giddens proposes confluent love, which again, it's this proposal instead of romantic love, where it's a lot more, it's not about possessing someone, but it's about complementing each other, and like you're a whole being and I'm a whole being, and we're kind of giving and receiving from each other kind of thing. So one, it was very impactful in my research and for my thesis and everything, but just it's something that I've taken again to heart, into my life, into my relationships, and just as moving away from what I felt like romantic love was and who I was when I believed in that, and then trying to rebel and find a healthier way, which I kind of did with all of this intimacy thing and confluent love and all of that. Yeah, it's good. Cute. It's very interesting.
All right, number 4.
My number 4?
Sure.
I think this is in your list.
I think it might. Is it the same? Is it the same number?
Which one's yours?
The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
No. I didn't put that one in my list. Interesting. I forgot about that one.
Oh, really?
But it's good. It's good. I don't think I would put it in my list now that you mention it, but no. It's Big Magic.
Oh, it is on my list. Oh.
I knew it. Like, I thought out of everything, I thought that was the one that we were going to have together. I didn't think we were going to have more.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was just going to be Big Magic. Yeah.
Look at that.
So, did I read it first? Yeah.
Yeah, you read it first and then I gave it to me.
Yeah. I feel like this book, I want to read it again. But it's one of those things that kind of, the same way that Aragon opened the world of books, I feel like Big Magic opened the world of creativity. Where it's that thing, I feel like we've mentioned this in another episode, where I feel like when I was younger, there was this idea that creativity had to mean, or if you were a creative person, it had to mean that you could draw. For some reason, that's what creativity meant. If you were creative, you knew how to draw.
Yeah.
And maybe maybe because of this book, or just it resonated when I read this book, then I felt like I was also creative, and I found myself to be creative after reading it, or after understanding creativity thanks to that book. So it was just very sort of, oh yeah, my horizon widened, a new world opened up kind of thing.
Yeah, that's cute. That's cute. Mine, I think it's on my number 2.
Yeah, it's up there.
Still in my top 2. Because, okay, yeah, so you gave it to me at a point where I don't exactly remember because it was like one thing that I was like scared of. And you told me about this
The fear thing?
metaphor, yeah, that she has at some point in the book about not letting fear drive the car. Like if you're in a car in your life, then you're the one that's driving, and then maybe fear can be on the back seat, but not being the one making the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really cool. And I also really liked the creativity aspect of it, but more of a maybe that thing that she's talking about, and she has a TED talk about this of the elusive creative genius, and how if you have an idea, maybe you see it going somewhere else and having somebody else do it, but that's also perfectly fine as long as you keep going with your ideas. Like it's okay not to hold on too tightly to stuff, basically. So that was also really cute. So between the fear and the like not being apprehensive of ideas, I think is the two things that most impact from
I
that
really
book.
like that book. I feel like it's one of the pillars of my life.
That's cute.
Yeah, just in the sense of how... Well, because we have found ourselves, or we have put ourselves into this world of creativity, and we are making our lives be very creativity oriented.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like this is one of one of the pillars of my life. I feel like it's a very accurate description of where this book is in my life for me.
I find it really funny in the same, like looking through each other's eyes kind of way. It's very interesting to me that you didn't think of yourself as somebody creative? And it was kind of funny because the other day when I sent you, I think it was the bank information thing. Something like some paperwork that I had to do.
Creative,
and I put your occupation as creative because that's the way I've thought about myself for ages. So to me it was not like a big reveal, or it was not something amazing in the same way that for you it was.
No.
But I think it's really cute that you had that moment of, oh, I can be creative.
Yeah, it was like it allowed me to look at myself and realize that I was already,
Yeah.
Like I feel like there was a disconnect at some point when I was little. Because when I was little, I did like to draw and to do things, and then at some point something happened that kind of pushed me to another path, to another door, something. And then the label of creative didn't apply to me for some reason.
Yeah.
And then thanks to this book, it was like, oh no, wait, like I am. Because even that, the reason we are the pine in the water, where it was like this tests, and I was air, and air was very creative and things. It was a little like I understood myself to be very daydreamy and things like that. But when it came to creative, I kind of couldn't
place it.
Yeah, I kind of couldn't understand it. That you can be just creative in life, and it doesn't mean that you do art. Like you can just be creative in how you solve problems or whatever. But I didn't see it that way. So yeah.
Cute.
What's your next one?
My number 4.
Like 4 or 3?
Oh, yeah. So mine's The Unbearable Lightness of Being.
That's a very interesting book.
It is very interesting. And I also read it at a very interesting moment in life in which I could relate a lot to one of the characters in the book. And I remember this one in particular because in that same afternoon that my mom recommended Sophie's World to my grandma, she also recommended this one.
Your mom recommended this book?
Yeah.
Wow.
To my grandma.
Wow.
And she said that it was one of her favorite books and that it was amazing and she loved it and whatever. And then I don't even know how I found it. But I think it came to me at the perfect moment in life. Because it's this intricate story about 4 people that have relationships with each other. And there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of like jealousy and self-doubt, and each of the characters has their own thing. And it was so intense and cool, and I think so I usually, because I don't like writing on books,
I do.
And I do like to sort of not maybe earmark them necessarily, but to save things.
Fill them with Post-its.
Yes.
Fill them.
That's the one that has the most Post-its.
I bet.
Because they're color coded.
Yeah.
And there's some that are even better, so they're like, instead of being on the side, they're on the top. So yeah, I love that book.
The thing that I love about the book is the game, like the showing us a different perspective, because these 4 people are involved in one way or another with the other 3, and the fact that it's not just the story about one of them and how they interact with the other ones, but you can see, because it's not quite spoiling, but at some point the thing that it kind of hit me was that, so there's these 2 characters that are in a relationship, and for one of them it's like, oh, she's amazing and I love her and I just want to spend my life forever with her. And then you read her perspective and this guy is very whatever to him. Yeah. She's just like me. It's just like, wow. I just love that. The fact that, because I don't know if it's just that whenever a character likes someone else, it tends to be it's
reciprocal? Reciprocated?
Yeah. It's either very reciprocated or completely like fuck off, like horrible, no, never, whatever. But the fact that they are in a relationship, and for one of them, it's like this amazing thing, love of your life or whatever. I might be exaggerating because I don't remember. But for the other one, it's very meh.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this person is there and whatever. It's neither reciprocated but also not rejected. And I found that very interesting.
See, that's kind of in the same sort of
ballpark as normal people.
Exactly.
Now that you brought that book up, I'm like, I totally understand why she likes this book.
See?
Yeah.
In that same sort of admiration of the ordinary kind of way, too.
I see.
It's in the details.
Yeah, I can see that.
Very well. What's your number 2? Number 3. Since my number 1 and 2 have been spoiled.
Okay, so after Big Magic, I don't know if you know this book. Maybe you do. Show Your Work by Austin Kleon.
No.
It's also a very tiny book. It doesn't have many words.
Okay.
But it's really cool. It's one of those books that was, I think, recommended by Ali Abdal. And I really like it. It's the same guy that did Still Like an Artist, which I think you might know. You don't know that book?
Maybe.
Even heard of it?
No.
Okay. Well, I haven't read Still Like an Artist, but I guess it's this thing probably saying something along the lines of how there's nothing really original, but you kind of get inspired by other people and no one owns an idea. It's just like we're kind of doing our own take on some things that are already there kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about. But show your work again once, because Big Magic is already part of my life at this point. And we're not quite doing our creative endeavors the way we're doing it now.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the beginnings of me thinking of creativity a lot and kind of wanting to be more of that. So show your work was sort of a motivation of just do it, just put it out there kind of thing, without the worries and the what are people gonna think? What if it's not successful? What if whatever? And all of these things that a creative person wanting to embark on a creative project or something might be wary of or worry about. And this book was very good about just show your work, put it out there. It's really good. Yeah, it's cute. It's like tiny. It's it's not a lot of words. It's very artsy, if that makes sense. Which is why it's not like a book where it's all words, if that makes sense. Like, of course, it's all words, but it's more artsy. I'll show it to you. I have it in my house, which I miss my books. I want my books, but they're in Mexico. But yeah.
Well, I have an honorable mention then in that case, because there's you just reminded me of, there's this book called What Are You Looking At? I think is the name. And it's really cute. It's about art history. And I read it when I was taking an art history class.
Of course.
And it's really cute. It's about mostly from modern art on. And it talks about not just who people were, like Jackson Pollock and Marcel Duchamp and whatever, but it goes on deeply to talk about their influences and what each of their art styles meant to them, and how, like, it's not just, I don't know, throwing paint on a canvas or whatever, or drawing squares like Rothko with no purpose, it kind of very, in a kind of for dummies way, I feel like, which is cute and funny, explains art history. So
cool. I appreciate those kinds of books.
Yeah, I like them too.
Nice. What's your next one?
My number 3 is Pride and Prejudice.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because, not just because I love the book, and I love the movie with Keira Knightley, but because I was reading that book when I was in, what is it, 7th grade? 8th grade? The equivalent of 8th grade in Mexican school. And I was reading it because I wanted to watch the movie. And people kept telling me, oh no, it's like for adults. Which I'm like, is it really? I guess a child could watch it and nobody would bat an eye. Like, maybe they just don't understand. But anyway. And my English teacher or Spanish teacher, I don't know, but she saw me reading. And she was like, oh, you like reading a lot, don't you? There's this thing happening where there's a contest, a literature contest. And we've been invited and you can participate. So basically, because of reading Pride and Prejudice, I ended up going to a literature contest in Argentina.
Oh,
so that was really cute.
That's how that happened.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So then that gives me on an honorary mention. I'm trying to find out who the author is, because right now I don't remember. But it's sort of this other genre of kind of, what's the name where it's like history but a little fictional? Like, is it historical fiction?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Easy peasy. But
Outlander.
No. Oh, but also.
Yeah, that's a good honorary mention. Outlander is good. Not just the show, which we love the show, but the book. The book as a romance novel, which it is. But it's also maybe not necessarily historical fiction, but it's very good adventure fiction. I like that it's not just romance. You know, it's not just a dumb romance novel. It's a very well written book with drama and mystery and adventure and suspense. Like, it's awesome. Awesome. Wonderful.
I haven't read it, so I couldn't put Outlander on my list, but on that same historical fiction stuff. The first books that I loved that were sort of this historical fiction thing were these books that my brother gave me because he read them and he loved them, my oldest brother, which were the Alexandros. And it's 3 books by Valerio Massimo Manfredi. And it's like a biographical kind of thing of Alexander the Great. And I loved them.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I want to read them again. And after that, Manfredi also has a couple of books about Odysseus, which I guess that's more mythology. Right?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah. Odysseus is not a real thing. Right?
I don't know.
It's like Troy.
Yeah, I know. What I'm thinking is, I mean, Homer
is
real, but the Iliad is not.
That's my point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, right. So anyway, yeah, and just this kind of, I think it opened, on the one hand, it kind of opened this idea of reading history that way. But mostly, like, if I did favorites instead of most impactful, I feel like these books would be there, where it's just the adventure and maybe the fact that it's not too fantasy with like dragons or whatever. It's just like men at war and desires. And I guess there is some sort of like goddesses thing happening there, which I also love. So, yeah, I really like honorary mention Manfredi and his Alexander series and his Odysseus series. I'm a fan.
Cute. Okay, what's your number 2?
What's my number 2? Oh, okay. Interesting, I guess. The Longevity Paradox by Stephen R. Gundry.
Okay.
And it's impactful in not in a deep, meaningful way. It's just impactful in this sort of, it's about sort of like it's the longevity paradox or whatever, and he also has the plant paradox, and his books are very about what you eat and kind of nutrition and kind of that way. So this is one of those books that I listened to in the past couple of years that I got very into audiobooks, because there's an episode of A Cup of Tea where I say that I can't listen to audiobooks. And after that, I got really into audiobooks. So it depends. I don't know that I can do novels in audiobooks. That's when I struggled.
I will say it depends a lot on the narrator.
So nonfiction has been easier for me to do in audiobooks. So the Longevity Paradox talks a lot about like what to eat and the blue zones kind of thing and what those people eat. And it's just because I've struggled to some extent with my diet and my nutrition and what I eat, because I don't eat meat. I don't want to eat meat. I don't think it's healthy. Like, more so, even though there's a whole like animals thing that's very important to me personally, I don't think it's very healthy to eat meat anyway. I do eat fish because I don't know better. But this book kind of like gave me very simple guidelines as like to eat very basic but healthy, I guess. And maybe the easiest way, and it's very silly and simple to put it in these terms, of just like try to make 70% of your plate vegetables. And it's like, all right, you know? But he talks about like eating sweet potato is very good. So like I stopped eating potatoes and I ate more sweet potatoes, which I was already eating because I love them. And I discovered my love for them when I lived at the preserve. And we gave like most of the animals that were like, I guess every animal that was not a carnivore ate sweet potatoes. And I'm like, if they're eating that and that's their diet, I'm like, that can be my diet. So yeah, it was just after that book, it just calmed a lot of the anxiety that I had towards food and nutrition. And I feel like it gave me a very nice base. And that's why it's like on my list.
That's cute.
Thank you.
That's your number 2?
I think so.
Well, my number 2 was stolen from me
I know.
because it was Big Magic. But I can give another honorary mention.
Sure.
I think the name in English is Chronicle of a Death Foretold. And
that sounds interesting.
The book that, after I went to Argentina with Pride and Prejudice, that's the book that I read for the contest. And it was the first time that I actually sat down to analyze a book. Because I was reading in all of that, but not like in English class, for example, where you had to dissect every word. And this one was kind of like that. Like understanding why it's written as a chronicle and why that's the name of the book and what the characters do and their motivations and the reasons why it's of a death foretold and that kind of thing. So it was really fun to understand it that way. I don't know where the copy of that book is because it's all written down on and like with different color markers and stuff. And it was really funny. Yeah, it actually made me miss a vacation with my grandparents. Because I had to go and attend like a literary analysis course, which never actually happened. They told me that they were like, it was when Zoom was not a thing yet, but it was online. It was supposed to happen over the course of whenever my grandparents were taking my brother and me on vacation.
If it was online, why didn't you go?
I don't know. I don't know.
And then
it was not up to me, and then it didn't happen, and it was very sad.
That sucks.
But then, then I went to Argentina, and it was really fun. So yeah, I already mentioned.
Cool. Okay.
And number 1.
I think it's Women Who Run with Wolves.
Seems very apt.
I love that book. And I haven't finished it.
Oh, okay.
I feel like
I thought you would have.
I know. I've been reading this book for months. But here's the thing. And I read this somewhere in some post, and I might have already said it in a cup of tea, where there was this post on Facebook that said something along the lines of buying books and reading books.
Is a different hobby?
No. Also that, but no. But the sort of consuming books like wine. Where it's just like you're in the mood for this specific thing, so then you kind of drink this one, read this one right now, and then another one, and whatever kind of thing. So, and I find it very interesting with the contrast of how, again, look a few years back when it was these novels and just like read it as fast as you can because you can't put it down. And now I find myself reading books very sporadically, and then it's like, oh, I kind of want to read this kind of thing. So I read a little bit of this one, and then it's like, oh, but now I want to read this other thing. So I read a little bit of that one. And then I have like 2 or 3 books that I'm currently reading, and it takes me forever to read them. So that's happening. And Women Who Run with Wolves has been a very significant, I don't know if I can say like the most significant book that I've read in a way, but it kind of is. It has taken me on a journey where I feel like it's very intimate. It's very, to me, it has been very about like looking at myself and looking at myself as a woman and understanding my history and my story as a woman, and kind of, because what she does in the book, and it's very sort of deep psychology oriented, which is kind of like Jung, which is the love of my psychological life. So she takes these narratives, these stories that have been around for centuries and throughout cultures and things, this kind of fairy tales almost, some of them, that you have different versions of in different cultures around the world and things, because they are very mythological in a very psyche way, and they explain stuff and what you go through and what people go through and things. So she takes these stories and she explains them in a very depth psychology way, and kind of what your relationship, like how you can see yourself in these stories and going through these stories. It's a little bit kind of archetypical, kind of, what's that book about the hero's journey thing?
The Hero of a Thousand Faces?
That one. So it's kind of similar to that, I guess. I haven't read that one, but in that same mythology way, history of yourself and as a character and whatever, it's very like that. So it just has sort of connected me a lot to my womanhood and to understand myself as a woman. And it has also been very painful, which is also why I think it's taken me so long to read it. Because it's very about understanding. I mean, it's thanks to this book that I've been able to look at some stuff that I've been through when I was younger and kind of explain it to myself and understand that I was very naive, that I let stuff happen that I shouldn't have, and a lot of things like that. Again, in a very, as a woman, we go through things. Me as a woman, I went through things. And sort of trying as well to understand not only my past, but okay, so who I am now, who I am as a woman, who I am as a person, who do I want to be. And it's very, I don't know how much you would like it or not like it, because I feel like you might feel that it's kind of corny.
That's so funny. I did not think that I was gonna think that it was corny. I mean, I felt like it was more maybe what
I say corny,
wishy-washy.
I think you might think that, because I mean corny in this way. I do really like how she sets the atmosphere, because again, in my mind palace of things, where it's very fantasy and there's a castle and things and a floating island kind of thing. This, I feel like it's very set on this sort of, the way I think of it, the way I picture it. It's like, oh, it's a desert and you're walking and you're finding this witch lady that she's going to show you the way into your ancestors and things. So I feel it's very like that. And to me, that speaks, that resonates with me. But I don't know how much it would resonate with you.
Well, I mean, it might. It depends. Like, the thing is, and I was thinking about this specifically with, for example, the Mexican Gothic book. Because it starts out very Mexico in the 50s and Mexico City and whatever, and fashion and social life and and then it ends up being a sort of like Wuthering Heights, Pride and Prejudice, maybe more Wuthering Heights type of thing, where I don't want to spoil it, but it turns into, it kind of reminded me actually of a little bit of magical realism.
I like that.
But not quite. I don't know how to explain it. But so, as long as it doesn't break my suspension of disbelief, I feel like it can be as wishy-washy as you want.
I'm intrigued. I feel like I want you to like read it a little bit and get back to me.
Yes.
I'm very intrigued. In this sort of seeing life through each other's eyes. I wonder how you would receive
I wonder.
this book.
I wonder.
I'm
too.
very intrigued.
And what? Do you have anything else to add?
Not about that. Not about this book. Are you
Okay.
done too?
I mean, I was gonna say an honorary mention because it reminded me of this one of audiobooks and two of I haven't finished it either because in the I don't know if it was the same thing that I read, but a couple of times on Instagram or on Facebook I've seen these posts of like what I said of buying books and reading them are two different two different hobbies.
I've seen that too.
But also of how the idea that you buy a book and maybe you don't read it right away because you wait for like quote unquote the perfect time to read it, or it comes back to you at a later point where it's actually this is when you should have read it.
Yeah. I find that very interesting, very serendipitous.
I know. And so in that kind of way, I had been listening to audiobooks for a while before you recommended this one to me. And though it had never been, I mean, it was good. It was working for me. I was reading fiction novels. But the one that was actually nonfiction and it's really good is the Will Smith book.
Yes, that's my next thing. It was gonna be my honorary mention next. Yeah. That's the thing that I was gonna say. Okay,
we're gonna wrap up with this honorary mention. Because I haven't finished it. I am I think at 75%. Okay. But the thing is, so it was a kind of read where in a very interesting way, I guess, in which I haven't read many memoirs because I don't really feel attracted to them.
Now I do.
But this one felt very like I can learn vicariously through Will Smith's life, kind of way. Yeah. And so I got to a point where I was like, okay, to level up, I need to maybe wait a little bit.
Oh.
And then I'll finish reading.
Interesting.
You know? Okay. And because I'm liking it so much that, and I do this thing a lot with shows and books and whatever.
You don't want to finish them?
Because, yes, I don't want to finish it because I really like it. So it's a combination of the two things.
I see.
So, yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah. So I just wanted to like honorary mention Will by Will Smith because one is the book that got me into audiobooks. Two, I feel like no one should read it. Everyone should listen to it.
Yes.
It is such a completely different experience if you listen to it. It is amazing. And yeah, I get that. Thanks to that, it really got me into like memoirs and that kind of like biographical thing, which I think resonates a lot with me in the whole pockets in the universe way and like experiences and perceptions and things. And, So, like after that, I listened to Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, also amazing, and to the what's her face, Alicia Keys book. I also really like that one, and I've done a couple more. But yeah,
I feel like that Prince Harry book is following me everywhere.
Oh, I don't
know that I want to read though. It's like
I'm intrigued. Maybe I don't know.
I mean, you can tell me about it if you do.
Maybe. But yeah, one like the book is amazing. I do really like Will and Jada and like what they do and things, and that like living vicariously through him. Because it's not only that the book is amazing and the narration is amazing and everything is amazing, but I do feel like I've learned, like I've gotten lessons from it. The whole like the wall thing and like you're not building a wall, you're just laying one brick perfectly. It's like, now it's a lesson that I have. Like it's in me.
Yeah.
And I do, like if I need it, I can go into my toolkit thing and be like, oh, here's the brick lesson thing from Will. I will apply it now. Yeah. So I love it.
I have this one thing also from that, not the brick thing. The brick thing's cute. But there's this part where he's talking about when he had to audition for the Fresh Prince stuff. And she's with, he's at a party with Quincy Jones and they ask him, if he can do something. I don't remember
The
what
audition.
it was. No. I mean, yeah, the audition, but they were specifically asking him if he had a certain skill.
Uh-huh.
Or some, I don't know if it was to act or something.
Uh-huh.
And there's two. One is that apparently Quincy Jones, I think, is the one who says the no paralysis through analysis.
Yeah.
That was cute. And the other thing was that he always says yes, even if he doesn't know how to do stuff.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Which I feel like it's not the first time I heard that. But it was a very cute reminder of yes, like even if you don't know, if somebody asks you and you have a great opportunity in front of you, and
say yes and then figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. Are you reading anything at the moment?
Well, Mexican, I mean, yes, like 3 books, but the one that's most relevant, because I haven't finished reading the Harry Potter 2 book. When I was going through the Goodreads thing, there's so many books that I haven't finished and they're there. There's one in particular that I do want to finish reading, and I think that can also be an honorary mention, called All the Light You Cannot See, which I started ages ago, and then we talked about in one of the first cups of tea. And actually, there's now a Netflix show that's coming out, and I'm really excited for it. So I want to finish reading it before the show comes out. That one and the Mexican Gothic, which is my rec.
Nice.
Which is awesome.
Nice. I am intrigued by this book. Finish it and then maybe I'll read it.
Sure. Maybe I'll finish it today on my way back.
I'll put it on the list of stuff that I have to read.
Sure.
Like I haven't finished the Women Who Run with Wolves, but that one, it's that thing of like, now I'm like, I know it's a very specific feeling of like, oh, now I'm going to read this.
Yeah.
It's a very specific feeling. So I know that I'll keep reading it for a while. I'm not going to sit down and just like read it. No, that can't happen with this book. So I'm reading that one. And another one that I'm reading right now is The Lives of the Stoics by Ryan Holiday, who has the whole like daily Stoic thing. And again, the philosophy and the everything. And I'm really enjoying it, but it's also like I read one of the Stoics and then I leave it for a while. And then it's like, oh, let's read another one. And then I read another one. You know, so it's that kind of thing.
Cute.
So yeah, that's our episode on books.
Yes, this was fun.
It was. A lot of surprises, I feel like. Very like, oh, what? Yes, no.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really fun. So you can read any of the ones that we mentioned because there's a ton.
Yeah.
Do you have a rec?
I mean, it was going to be The Lives of the Stoics. I don't know if I've already read it. I think I have. But if I have, just take any of my books and think of it as a rec. There you go.
Very well. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us.
To watch more episodes of A Cup of Tea, click the link on the right. If you want to watch Pockets in the Universe, go to the playlist on the left.